What's up, everybody? Coach CeeLo here, and here we are, man. 2025, where did it all go, guys? Absolutely amazing year. We hit some great records. We did some amazing things. I still got one last podcast that I'm going to be doing with you guys. To be honest, I didn't even think I was going to film this one, right? We're in the middle of changing studios. There was a bunch of stuff going on. I had some keynote speeches I've been doing this week. You know, I get a lot of calls towards the end of the year to kind of either close up Christmas parties and stuff like that, or the beginning of the new year. And a lot of the times I'll have two or three different speeches that I'll be using for the keynote speeches. And I said, you know what? I got a call from Nelson, my social media manager. He said, hey, we're ready. I said, the new studio? He's like, let's do it. I said, let's do it. So I'm just going to use one of those keynote speeches with you guys. Use this because it makes sense. It's all about getting ready, kind of closing this year in good and getting ready for next year. So as the year comes to a close, you know, most people are mentally checked out. They're coasting. They're waiting for January to start fresh. Sound familiar? Guys, if that's you, that's not how winners operate. All right? Winners don't coast at the end of the year for next year. They start putting it into high gear right now. Now, I get it. It's Christmas time. It's Hanukkah. It's, you know, New Year's Eve is coming. I'm not saying don't spend time with your family and loved ones. What I'm saying is when you are at work, don't throttle down, just the opposite, throttle up, you know? Throttle up because it's the setup for next year. So before we even talk about next year, you know, we got to do something most people avoid, and that is self-assessment. So I want you guys to ask yourself a very simple question. Last year, you asked yourself, or you told yourself, actually the year before that, if you were with me, you know I'm big on doing this October, November. But anyway, it makes for a good topic for you guys anyway, right now. And that is, did I accomplish my goal this year? And be honest, whatever that goal is, if the answer is yes, then why did it work? If the answer is no, then why didn't it work? I don't want bullshit excuses. Reasons, they're excuses. At the end, what you have are results or you have excuses. So don't give yourself the bullshit excuses of why you didn't. Just, did we reach the goals or not? Most people don't miss their goals because they're lazy, even though some of you out there are, right? They miss them because their goals were vague or unrealistic. And that's why the goals have to be SMART, SMART. And that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You know, if your goals weren't SMART, they weren't goals, they were wishes. So let's talk about SMART goals, all right? Specific. I want you guys to write down exactly what you want for 2026. When I mean exactly, I am talking about how much money you want to make, what you plan on doing with that money, and not just about money. What are your goals with your family this year? What are your goals with your faith this year? What are your goals with your body this year? What are your goals on eating healthier, on nutrition, on every metric that you can think of? What are those goals? And then I want you to put it in perspective. What is that going to do for me? And then I want you to put yourself in the picture. How would I look? How would I act? How would I feel if I am the person that already has that identity, assumes that identity? Do the freaking work, guys. I'm not going to do this for you. You got to sit there and do this. But if you want to smash 2026, this is how you're going to do it. Number two, make it measurable. I want you to be able to track this. Now, I am the first one that suffers from that. I am not a tracking kind of person, but I still track my stuff. I just maybe don't go down to the minute detail every single minute of every hour of every day. You don't have to be either, but at least be able to take that goal and say, all right, by the end of 2026, I want to be here, which means that by the end of every quarter, I need to be here, which means by the end of every month, I need to be here, which means by the end of every week, at least bring it down to the week. Because that way you know at the end of every month where you need to be, you know at every week where you need to be. If this week didn't turn out the way you needed to, you need to hightail it in week 2, 3, and 4 to make sure you win the month. If you didn't win the month, you know what you got to do to win the quarter. You definitely need to win the quarter because you only have 4 of them. And that way you can measure exactly where you're at and what you're doing. Number 3, it needs to be achievable. Now, I always tell you to set big goals. I want you to dream big. So it has to be bigger than what you thought you can do, but still enough to where in your mind it's possible. Is it hard? Yes. Ooh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit it, but is it possible? Yes, it's possible. As long as in your mind you know it's possible, then that's what I want you to set. It has to be achievable, because if it's too far, you're going to be like, that's just a pipe dream, and then you're not going to do anything about it. The next one is relevant. It has to fit in your worldview. It has to fit into your view of who you are as a person, that identity that you're trying to become, not necessarily the identity you are right now, but the identity you want to become. Does it fit in with that worldview? Does it fit in with your faith and your beliefs? Does it fit in with who you are as a person? All of that has to be relevant, because if all of that doesn't come together, there's going to be internal clashes. And lastly, time bound. I kind of talked about that when I was saying measurable. You want to measure it, but you want to have specific dates. By the end of this first quarter, I want to be here. By the end of the year, I want to be here. And that way you know where you're at and you can fix it. So let's talk about that again. These are called SMART goals. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. If your goals are SMART, then you will be able to reach your goals. Next, understand that discipline beats motivation. Now, I'm a big motivation guy. I'm a big emotional guy. I'm not so much on the logic. I'm more on the emotion side. I have both in my style, right? But I am definitely more motivational than discipline, which means that I have to set systems in place to make sure that my discipline is there. Meaning, if you tend to be high on motivation and low on discipline, you need to have systems in place that will incorporate the discipline. If you're high on discipline and low on motivation, you could still make it happen. Now, I would venture to say that motivation would make your life easier and happier and more fun. But regardless, make sure that you have discipline in your life, because that is what's going to make sure that everything happens. Motivation's temporary. Discipline shows up whether you feel like it or not. So high performers don't wait to feel ready. They build habits that carry them when motivation disappears. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and your systems are there to build discipline. So you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the levels of your discipline. So if you've got discipline there, then that's a great place to be. Start with the right mindset. Gratitude is where you want to be. Now, I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. If you find yourself saying, oh, I have to pay the bills. Oh, I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I have to go to work. Oh, I have to put in extra hours. Oh, I have to talk to this customer. Oh, I have to follow up. You are making this much worse than it needs to be. What you have to say is, I get to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of people that didn't wake up today. They were dead. You woke up. Congratulations. You've been given another present. That's why it's called the present. Oh, I have to go to work. No, buddy, you get to go to work, because you're one of the blessed people that has the ability to go out there and earn money. There are people right now that aren't working. Oh, I have to follow up. No, you don't have to follow up. You get to follow up because you get to close some deals that most other people will never do because they didn't follow up. If everything that you have to do, you see it as something you get to do, you're going to see the gratitude behind it. You're going to see the magic of life behind it and why it's so important to do. The next one is to adopt a winning mindset. All right? I've talked about this before. It's one of my favorite speeches. I've actually had several keynote speeches just on this subject, and it's the Super Bowl mentality. It's the fact of creating a team that wins Super Bowls. But this time, it's just about you having the Super Bowl mentality. Forget the team. Today, I'm talking to you. Yes, you directly. You need to have a Super Bowl mentality. You need to have the mentality of what a you want to make pro athlete money? You got to do what pro athletes do. What do pro athletes do? Pro athletes train. They train when it's a beautiful day outside. They train when it's crappy. They train when it rains. They train when it's freezing cold. They don't stop training. You've got to do the same. You have to have the mentality that you own your job. You own your relationship with your spouse. You own your relationship with your family. And the only way that you make it better is by making yourself better. So if you want to make yourself better, you train. You put in the work. And that means having a mentality of a winner, having a mentality of somebody who never gives up. That is what I call a Super Bowl mentality at its basic level. Because if everybody has a Super Bowl mentality and they're part of a team, now everybody in that team becomes somebody very special that goes out there and wins Super Bowls. I'll talk about that on another day. But right now, I want you to just focus on you being the MVP at your job, you being the MVP at home, you being the MVP of your family, you being the MVP at your faith organization, or not, your own faith, just your own spiritual connection, you being that MVP that gets things done. And finally, when it comes to closing, when it comes to sales, guys, I've already said it a million times. You know that commission-based work is where it's at. That is where you make the doctor, lawyer money. That is where you succeed. So you own your job, whether you work for a company or you work for an offer. In any one of them, who you work for is yourself. And you have to have that business owner mentality. So when you feel like not waking up that morning or you don't feel like getting on those calls, remember that the only person you're letting down is yourself. Well, more than that, the people that depend on you, your team, your family, the business. You have to be able to take responsibility of that. If this were your company, you'd track your numbers. You'd protect your time. You'd invest in yourself. You'd eliminate the excuses. You are the CEO of your results. Start acting like it. Not only that, CEO hires his weaknesses. He hires all the people that can help him see the blind spots, that can help him run the ball when they need to run the ball. Guys, every professional athlete, every great CEO has a coach. You should too. Common sense. To end the year strong and start next with momentum, this is what I want you to do. Assess the year honestly. What worked and what didn't and why. Set your SMART goals. Choose discipline over motivation and build winning habits. Lead with gratitude. Remember, I get to rather than I have to. Show up with a winning Super Bowl mentality. Think like an owner. Treat your job like your business. And finish strong because momentum is built now, not in January. When you're in January, it's too late. The year already started. Decide who you're going to be because the year isn't ending. It's setting the tone. Guys, my name is Coach CeeLo, and I have helped thousands of people reach, attain, and maintain six figures and now multiple six figures. You keep listening to me, you'll be the next.